Well, I'm Rob Cartwright.
I'm Justin Rizza.
And we are with Independence Brewing Company. Independence Brewing started in 2001. Me and my wife Amy decided we wanted to start our own microbrewery. And so we started putting together a business plan and raising money. And in 2004 we managed to open up Independence Brewing in October. It's been open 5 years now. This is our 5th anniversary. So it's kind of cool to go back and think about how it all started and how far we've come. We originally found a brewing system that was an old brew pub system in Phoenix, Arizona. It was the old Coyote Springs brewing system. And so that's what our base system is over there. Most of the equipment all came together as a package. We've added one big tank since then because frankly that system was just too small for us. And we're going to be adding a lot more tanks in the next couple of years, it looks like. Business has been very good. We started out with 3 beers. We had Freestyle Wheat, which has always been my favorite beer, I have to admit. It's my personal favorite.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, the recycling bin, you can tell which is my favorite beer. Amy's favorite beer is the Independence Pale Ale. That was our second beer. It's kind of our flagship beer. Oddly enough, that was the beer while we were pilot brewing in the garage and raising money that Amy said really let her write the business plan. She would sit in there on the couch smoking cigarettes in the garage right next to the kegerator. And I'd walk out there to fill my beer and she'd be out there with her little laptop just going away on the business plan. And I have to admit it, did a damn good job.
I guess it worked.
Yeah, I guess it worked. So I always say that was the beer
Fueled by Pale Ale.
That was the beer that I convinced my wife to let me open a brewery with. And then Bootlegger Brown, that was our 3rd beer when we started. And that was probably the one we got the most press for right off because it was such a different beer than what was out in the market right then. All brown ales were all real light in color. No one was really pushing the envelope on being a dark, robust brown ale. They'd all call that porter. So I thought a brown ale should be brown. So we made Bootlegger, which is really got a real strong chocolate flavor, but not too heavy. Those 3 beers carried us for a while, but we found that we just didn't get that beer that really connected with like the masses. We thought Freestyle would be able to do that, but it's a filtered wheat and it doesn't have Weizen yeast in it. And people couldn't quite figure it out. There's all different kinds of wheat beer out there. They thought it was going to be a Hefe and that it would be cloudy. And so we decided, we were talking to the Alamo Theater guys one day, and they were like, dude, well, we need a house beer for the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. And we want something, we'd love to do the Pale Ale. And we're like, well, we're not going to do one of our beers and rename it for you guys. But we've been thinking about doing an amber. And so let's test this amber idea. You guys be our test market. And if it goes well, then we'll actually bring this beer out and start selling it to everybody. And so that's how Austin Amber was originally born. It lived first as Drafthouse Amber. And we were the house beer at the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema for about 4 years. Yeah, I guess 4 years. Which was really cool. We didn't think it would last that long. We thought it was always an idea that they would rotate to other breweries. And so I know like Real Ale is now doing their house beer. And I have to admit, man, that was a great thing for us to get started, but Austin Amber has just exploded. That's our biggest beer now.
Yeah.
So that's what we make the most of. But ever since we started doing bottles in our 2nd year and we got into HEB, we really established ourselves on the shelf and really kind of locked in our real estate there. And so now we can get to kind of play and make more of the beers that we like to make, have a little more fun at it. And in this last year, we hired Justin to help take over the brewing for me. And dude, he has really cranked out some good recipes. Like the Stash.
Yeah, so we can move along to some of the newer beers in the lineup. After building that great foundation of beers that they already had here, like you said, we were able to open up and kind of play around a little bit more. So the Stash is kind of an interpretation of a IPA that Robin made a few years ago, and he was nice enough to let me have my own go at it.
Since then, yeah.
Just hand it over to me. And it's kind of a Northwest style IPA. Hopheads love it. it's big on the hops. And this is a beer that's bittered to a higher degree than most of the beers that Rob and Amy kind of built the brewery on. So it's got that nice, that full-bodied, that bitterness that hopheads love. Once again,
yeah.
It's also got 3 additions in the kettle of 3 different types of hops. There's Amarillo, there's a Tannum, and there's Cascade, and these all give a huge floral aspect. That's the thing. Like where you grab the glass and you get that floral green aroma right in your face. That's where that comes from. So there's one also added to the fermenter. It's called dry hopping. That's where we add fresh hops right to the fermenter after all of the hot side of the brewing. And this gets that real delicate oil out of the hops. None of the never touches heat.
The heat would destroy
immediately. Destroy it and render it kind of useless. So we add it later on in the process in the fermenter, and this really retains all that floral and kind of grapefruity, citrus kind of quality of the hops.
Great.
Yes, and some other beers that we've been making, some previous and some now, like the Oatmeal Stout. It's an Imperial Oatmeal Stout. It's called Convict Hill. It's a classic Imperial Stout. It's got the huge chocolatey, roasty character to it, coffee kind of character, and it's a heavy beer. It's a high gravity beer. It's almost 9%, and we've also got the Jasperilla, which is a strong ale,
yearly vintage beer that we make one batch every year.
And then we've also been playing around a little bit. Like tomorrow is our anniversary. It's our 5th anniversary, so we've got the anniversary ale here, which is kind of a Belgian-inspired strong golden ale. It's about 7.5% alcohol. It's got a little bit of mandarin orange peel, star anise, a little coriander in there, and then the mash I've also put in a little bit of flaked barley to add kind of a creamy texture to the beer, and a little bit of flaked rye to kind of add a crispness to it. And it's actually fermented with a special blend of yeast. It's 2 different yeast strains that we've used to ferment this beer, and it's kind of different than things that we've done in the past, but so far it's been well received, and it's going to be a very limited time thing. So our anniversary party will probably blow through a good portion of it, and then it should be found on tap around town, wherever, to any takers.
Yes. Yeah. Trying to think. I guess the only other beer that's in the lineup of our seasonals, we also make and this one really only shows up once a year. Still doesn't really have a season that it's yet. We call it Southside Special Ale. It's pretty far out there. It's we kind of took the idea of bootlegger and we're like, well, what if you just went off the deep end with bootlegger and just made a beer that was just over the top? And so we poured way tons of chocolate malt in there. We put actual roasted cacao beans. We grind them up and put them in there. We put ground coffee in there, the Indonesian Sumatra coffee, so it's real chocolatey. It's like we're layering chocolate flavors on top of chocolate flavors on top of chocolate flavors. And then we put a little bit of cardamom in, just to kind of give it a nice little spicy character. It's about 7.5%. It is a very black beer, obviously, and it is very unique. It's me and Amy always said it was kind of, we were inspired by Turkish coffee, like that real kind of in your face, but complex, where you could sit there and be like, savor it. So that's Southside. We think we're going to be coming up with that in the spring again. That beer's never really fit into one category. We call that an experimental beer, totally.
Yeah, that's a category, right?
It's an herb beer, it's a coffee beer, it's a chocolate beer, it's a little bit of both. All of your stuff.
Yes, I think that's all of our beers, and hope everybody can come check out the brewery at some point.
Yeah, we'd like to say thanks to everybody who's supported us in the past. It's been a great time. We're looking forward to the next 5 years in Austin.